Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. ICE agents in San Diego are arresting people at their green card interviews. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis says they are mostly parents and spouses of U.S. citizens, people who have jobs, pay taxes, and do not have criminal records.
Please, thank you very much.
This year, the Trump administration has been targeting groups of immigrants who, under previous administrations, were not enforcement priorities. From revoking student visas to arresting people in immigration courts. And now, ICE agents are detaining people at their green card appointments.
These are people that have been vetted and that are in a different position than most people. And I would say a better position than most immigrants. They are clearly eligible for lawful permanent residence.
Tessa Cabrera is an immigration lawyer in San Diego. ICE arrested her client, the father of a U.S. citizen with special needs, on November 12th.
He has U.S. citizen children, specifically a 17-year-old who he's the primary caregiver of, who has autism and really depends on him physically, mentally, emotionally, and they essentially didn't care and just took him.
Cabrera says that this new tactic is particularly disturbing because people have already gone through background checks and extensive vetting.
So it really is shocking and horrifying that this is the next level that we're getting to.
Most of the people arrested overstayed their visas, which is relatively common in green card applications because the process is so long, and immigration law allows people to adjust their status from an overstay to a green card. ICE ignored KPBS's questions about these green card arrests. The agency issued a statement, similar to others that it has put out in the past in response to critiques of its immigration enforcement tactics. ICE is, quote, committed to enforcing federal immigration laws through targeted operations that prioritize national security, public safety, and border security, end quote. William Menard disagrees. He is an immigration lawyer whose client was also arrested during a green card appointment in San Diego.
If you're concerned about people who are in the United States that have criminal records and may be a danger to the community, that's one thing. But these targeted actions are not that.
His client is an Australian national with no criminal record who is married to a Navy veteran. Menard says that overstaying a visa by a few months has rarely been an issue in green card applications.
Someone who was here as an overstay but was applying for a green card through their spouse or a parent, a close relative, which is perfectly legal under our immigration laws. We never had this conversation because it was never an issue. Now we're telling clients, this is what we've seen at the San Diego field office.
He hopes to have his client released from custody in time for Thanksgiving.
It's really disrupted everything. It's put a strain on, her family, who's just very concerned about her. This is an extremely difficult situation and not something anybody wants to be dealing with, especially right now.
But there are no guarantees. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
The owner of an Encinitas market went in for an immigration hearing today. Coming up, why family and customers are worried he'll be deported.
We have another cool night on our hands tonight. Temperatures will drop down to around 50 in San Diego. We will get a little warmer Wednesday before a slight cool down then for Thanksgiving. But it's a really pleasant stretch here for us into areas like Mount Laguna down to a nippy 42, 47 for your low into Borrego Springs. We'll be taking a look at that National Thanksgiving Day forecast, and we'll dial it into our next opportunity for perhaps a few sprinkles in a few more days coming up.
A Trump administration plan to open up new oil drilling off the coast of California was met with strong bipartisan pushback today. KPBS reporter John Carroll says legislation being introduced by Representative Mike Levin would keep oil drilling off limits off the southern and central California coast.
The backdrop for this morning's news conference was just what Representative Mike Levin says his legislation is meant to safeguard. The bill is called the Southern California Coast and Ocean Protection Act.
It permanently and unequivocally bans new offshore drilling off our coastline.
Levin's bill covers any new drilling in the coastal waters from the border with Mexico to the northern border of San Luis Obispo County. He says he's received strong support from municipalities up and down the coast, and that support is bipartisan.
There are many local jobs at risk, and previously the United States Navy has said drilling would hamper their training mission. If rigs were to be placed offshore, I certainly can't guarantee, and neither can the federal government, that there won't be an environmental catastrophe.
You don't have to look too far back in the history books to find oil spill catastrophes along California's coast. The most recent major one happened in 2021 off Huntington Beach. Approximately 25,000 gallons of crude oil were spilled after an investigation determined a ship's anchor pierced a pipeline. The economic costs were estimated to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
We're reliant on a healthy, clean, and diverse ocean that supports more than 350,000 jobs and generates more than $25 billion through fishing, tourism, and recreation. Those jobs vanish fast when there's a spill.
The administration's plan goes beyond California's coastline. It would also open up waters off Florida and Alaska. Congressman Levin says there is bipartisan opposition in those states as well, and that lawsuits are sure to be filed. Representative Levin says he's not sure if his bill will be taken up in this session of Congress, but he says he is certain that if it's not, Republicans and Democrats up and down the coast will continue to fight for it. In Solana Beach, John Carroll, KPBS News.
The El Centro Police Department has released new information about a police shooting that took place last month. Officers shot and killed 14-year-old Mikey Jimenez of Brawley. KPBS Imperial Valley reporter Corey Suzuki says Jimenez's family is calling for a law enforcement agency from outside the Imperial Valley to investigate. And a warning, this story contains body cam footage of a police shooting.
No justice, no peace!
It's raining in El Centro on Saturday as family and friends of Mikey Jimenez gather in the parking lot outside Volcano Asian Restaurant on East Main Street, the place where police officers shot and killed Mikey last month. Mikey's family members share happy memories. His sister Jalissa says he played a lot of Fortnite and loved cooking seafood.
My last memory with my son, it was before he went out the door.
Alma Ureña is Mikey's mother. She says he spent a lot of time with his family. On the night Mikey was killed, they were at home in Brawley, watching a movie on Netflix with his baby brother.
We were just right there playing around, tickling each other, just playing around like a family. And maybe like 30 minutes later, he went out the door to go spend time with his friends, and not even an hour later, he died.
Most of what we know about what happened next comes from a highly edited compilation of body camera footage from 2 officers that was put together by the El Centro Police Department. It was Sunday, October 5th. Mikey had ended up in El Centro. He was behind the wheel of a white Hyundai in the parking lot behind the Volcano restaurant. In their video, El Centro police say their license plate reader surveillance system had flagged the Hyundai as stolen. Here's Deputy Police Chief Renee McNish talking over the video.
Marked police units moved and positioned themselves in the driveway with their red and blue light bar illuminated.
In the edited footage, you can see 2 police cars pull up outside the restaurant. 3 officers block the exit from the parking lot. The white Hyundai comes around the corner and moves towards them. Within seconds, the officers start shooting. Police argue the officers were trying to prevent the car from fleeing. They also say Mikey accelerated towards the exit with 2 officers in his path. McNish again.
In this still frame image from one of the body-worn camera of the officers, you can see that an El Centro Police Department officer is directly in the path of the vehicle.
Mikey's family and their lawyers see the video differently. They argue Mikey was moving to surrender and was already slowing down when police opened fire. They say officers fired 29 shots at the car. Marcus Burza is one of the family's attorneys.
A 14-year-old in a panicked state had the wherewithal to make the right choice and turn himself in. And doing so meant that the officers had an easier shot. That is the tragic irony of this shooting. The young man made the right choice, and the officers killed him.
The El Centro Police Department did not agree to an interview by KPBS's deadline. Mikey's family is Mexican, making him one of a disproportionate number of Latino people who are seriously injured or killed by police in California. The Imperial County District Attorney's Office is now investigating the shooting and whether to bring criminal charges against the officers. But Mikey's family is calling for a law enforcement agency from outside the Imperial Valley, like the California Attorney General, to do the investigation instead. They say the DA works too closely with police in El Centro to independently investigate the officers' conduct.
It is no secret that all the law enforcement agencies here are not only collaborative partners.
Gilberto Manzanares is an advocate with Valle Imperial Resiste and a former city council member in Calexico, just 11 miles down the road. He says many law enforcement officers have close relationships here.
Because remember, we're a small community. All these people not only work with each other, but they live with each other outside of work. You see them in their own private houses. They invite them to their holiday parties and meet their families.
District Attorney George Marquez says the State Attorney General's office has already declined to take up the case. He says his office hasn't talked about transferring the investigation to another county. Back outside the restaurant, Alma Urenia says her son might have deserved to face some consequences, but she says she doesn't understand the amount of force officers used.
He deserved to maybe get charges put against him or go to juvie or something like that, but he didn't deserve to die. He just didn't. He was 14 years old. He was a little kid.
If the officers don't face criminal charges, Urenia and her attorneys say they're planning to file a civil lawsuit against the city. In El Centro, Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
Political analysts and San Diegans have told KPBS over the last year that no one leader, no one institution will rescue American democracy. It's up to the people. So if that is the case, the question is, what traits make Americans good citizens? KPBS's Amita Sharma decided to explore that question as she joins me now. Welcome, Amita.
It's good to be with you, Maya.
So tell me, what are some key traits of a good citizen?
The traits go way beyond voting, and they apply to each of us, from natural-born citizens to green card holders to asylum seekers to children, even if we cannot legally vote. And the traits really do include what you and I both learned in elementary school civics: mutual respect, resolving our differences through compromise, through empathy, and accepting our differences. Good citizenship for Eleanor Roosevelt meant seeking knowledge, cultivating curiosity, and of course, taking responsibility. In fact, she quoted her uncle, Theodore Roosevelt, who said that the blame for bad government does not rest solely with the politicians, but also with the citizens who are too indifferent to, quote, get better men in office. And finally, Ben Franklin's version of good citizenship was being civic-minded, joining groups to promote the public good. And it is that kind of public service that San Diego resident Justine Sullivan told me is really tough in 2025, because it really requires us to stop issuing purity tests to one another, really just requiring that each of us agree on each of the issues all the time. And it also requires us to take risks for one another.
We have to find what unites us, and I would say across party lines, where possible, to look for coalitions of the reasonable. So it means engaging and not just keeping our heads down and saying, well, I'm safe now, so I want to hold on to what I have. But being willing to put more on the line because so much is at stake.
For Genevieve Teal, another San Diego resident, good citizenship means political activism and strong connections with neighbors. She's homebound because of a disability, so she campaigns for candidates by mailing out postcards on their behalf. She set out to know each of her 15 neighbors in her apartment complex during COVID by handing out goodie bags. Today, she shares instruction cards on interacting with ICE.
And so that, I think also just allows people to know kind of who I am. who I am as a person and what my values are, and that they're safe with me.
The founders viewed an informed citizenry as essential to democracy, but a recent Pew Research Center survey found just 56% of Americans say they trust national media a lot or somewhat. Osita Nwanevu, author of the new book, The Right of the People, says it's up to Americans themselves to find trustworthy news sources.
Social media, partisan media on television, and so on, has really atrophied our capacity to do some of these things. But these are skills that are available for us.
What is increasingly becoming unavailable for people is the American dream of home ownership, a college degree, and a livable wage. Against this backdrop, practicing good citizenship can be a tough sell. Evidence of unaffordability is everywhere. Only 13% of San Diegans can afford a median-priced home of $1 million. The cost of food, housing, medical care, and child care continue to go up. Nwanevu says the antidote is to get more involved, run for office, consider yourself a founder of a new democracy. UC San Diego political science professor emeritus Sam Popkin advises to also show discernment at the ballot box.
Never believe anybody who says it's easy, and never believe anybody who has the dream without a plan. Ask people, what is the first step and what is the second step?
And again, Maya, it bears repeating that, yes, there is more to good citizenship than voting. But that said, I also have to mention that 88 million people, nearly 88 million people skipped voting in the 2024 presidential election. That is more than voted for either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump.
Well, we appreciate your reporting on this, Amitha. Always interesting.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you, Amitha. And the story is part of the KPBS Public Matters Initiative. You can learn more about it on our website at kpbs.org/Public Matters.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, how the Department of Government Efficiency, once led by Elon Musk, is being decentralized. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
AAA is expecting 6 million people in Southern California to hit the road this Thanksgiving. If you're one of them, here are some things to keep in mind to save yourself some time and some money. To the right of your screen is a list of the best dates and times to drive. You'll want to head out before 11 a.m. tomorrow or Friday. And if you're driving far, make sure that your car is prepared for your trip. Our media partner KGTV spoke with Ray Frey, Auto Center, about simple things that you can check yourself without taking your car to the shop.
Make sure you don't have any major oil leaks or any fluid leaks before you leave. And just use common sense. If all your tires are low on air, you're going to get bad fuel economy. If you have a nail in one of your tires and you have a blowout on the way, that's a big issue too.
That's right, take care of those tires. And the Auto Club of California says SoCal travelers will be paying some of the highest prices of the year, averaging about $4.66 a gallon. Here in San Diego County today, the average is slightly higher at $4.78. Flu and COVID cases are expected to rise in San Diego County as families gather for the holidays. Health officials are urging San Diegans to get vaccinated now. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco breaks down the latest numbers.
The number of people getting flu and COVID vaccines in San Diego County is far below what health officials hope for at this point in the season. Only about 1 in 5 eligible residents have gotten a flu shot, and even fewer, less than 1 in 10, have gotten the updated COVID vaccine. At the same time, flu cases have been climbing since last month, from about 60 cases a week at the beginning of October to nearly 160 cases this month. I spoke with UC San Diego infectious disease specialist Dr. Davey Smith. He's been monitoring flu activity overseas. He says it can help predict what we'll see here.
And if that is true, then it's going to be a pretty bad year. Japan has already hit more deaths than they had last year in terms of the flu. The UK rates are rising faster than what we saw the year and even the year before that.
But he says this year's vaccine protects against the flu strain circulating now.
don't miss out on that flu vaccine this year, because I think it's going to be a rough ride. And just know that a flu vaccine doesn't fully protect you from getting the virus, but it protects you from dying and getting hospitalized from the virus.
He's expecting flu season in San Diego to ramp up in January or February, but with gatherings starting this week, Smith says now is the time to get protected. From the newsroom, Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
Some San Diego families are still feeling the impact of the government shutdown. It's affecting their options for child care. Many local Head Start programs are scaling back their services after losing federal funding. One of those programs is MAC, which provides daycare, education, and food for children from low-income families. They told our media partner, KGTV, they've already been told not to expect an increase in funding next year.
We want to be able to give all of our teachers increases because they're facing the same cost of living increases, and so when we don't receive any increase in our funding, it's like receiving a cut.
And MAC also began cutting some programs at their 16 child care centers, including mental and behavioral services. Officials say they're working to find outside sources to bridge the funding gap.
Well, we have some headlines to share with you, but overall, nice weather is with us. We'll be a little warmer on Wednesday before another slight cool down for Thanksgiving. So a bit of a rise at midweek, a slight drop in temperature for Thanksgiving. But it's going to be a nice, pleasant, dry, bright time here for us over the next few days, and a really nice holiday weekend. Now, as we step into Sunday and Monday, the very end of this extended holiday weekend, we may have a few sprinkles around. There are some hints of moisture that will return. But tonight, we stay clear. We'll get down to around 50 degrees into San Diego, and life is pretty good for us. So we're going to be dry for a major travel day. Big travel day. And we don't expect any weather-related delays in the southwestern U.S. here, especially in San Diego, where life is good for us weather-wise. Lots of sunshine, a few patchy clouds near the coast, especially in the morning. 77 into San Diego, Chula Vista, El Cajon, 84. And then into the interior here, we're as cool as 55 up into Mount Laguna. Thanksgiving Day looks great across the Southwest, and if you're traveling in any direction here, it's going to be a nice bright time here for us. And again, in San Diego, a beautiful day. There will be some much colder air in the northern plains. Some snow in the northern Rockies, rain showers on Thanksgiving in the Pacific Northwest. You'll notice there is going to be some pesky lake effect snow in areas downwind of the Great Lakes into Thanksgiving Day. Second Thanksgiving in a row with significant snow in parts of northwest Pennsylvania, western New York, off of Lake Erie, for example. For the coast, a beautiful stretch, though. Again, a little warmer Wednesday, a slight cool down late in the week, intermittent cloud Saturday, and there will be a more decisive cool down with a few sprinkles possible on Sunday and into Monday as the next system scoots in. This one does not look like a big rain producer, but there could be some sprinkles. Warmest for the inland areas Wednesday, cooling down late this week into the weekend. We continue to cool down a bit. It's going to be a pretty big temperature change between that warm Wednesday and the cooler weekend. And again, a sprinkle or two possible again in the inland areas on Sunday. Into the mountains we go, and you can see a nice spell through the rest of this week, a little more cloud cover and a cool down for Sunday. Desert's also experiencing temps warmest on Wednesday, gradual cool down into the weekend with a little bit more cloud cover and a slightly cooler spell for Sunday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
A show of support downtown today before an immigration hearing for the owner of a popular North County market. KPBS reporter Alexander Wynn tells us the man feared being deported despite having a work permit.
Several dozen people gathered in front of the Edward J. Schwartz Federal Building this morning. There to support this man, Norberto Ambrosio Aguilar, the owner of Just Peachy Market in Lucadia. Daniel Scheibe says Ambrosio deserves to be here because he brings the community together.
We're showing our solidarity that we hope that the courts will recognize that he's providing a value. He's been in the country for years.
Ambrosio arrived in the U.S. as a teenager in the 1990s and had an ongoing immigration case until it was closed 12 years ago. Since then, he raised 3 children and eventually took over Just Peachy Market. Earlier this month, he got a notice to appear at immigration court. Ambrosio was worried he could be deported. ICE has been arresting people for expedited removal at their immigration hearings.
solamente lo dejo en la mano de Dios y que Él decida.
This case was administratively closed in 2013, and now DHS is reopening it. It is happening nationwide and could affect cases going back years, or in this case, more than a decade ago.
It's an intimidation factor.
Tammy Lin is a law professor at USD and an immigration attorney. She says the Trump administration is going after low-hanging fruit to bolster its deportation numbers.
They're touting that they're going after criminals and the worst of the worst, but we're seeing is they're going and arresting people that have no criminal records. They're basically adding more cases to the immigration docket for court, and they're firing immigration judges left and right since February.
Ambrosio has no known criminal history. Today, the judge continued his case until May. After his hearing, he hugged everyone who showed up to support him.
It's tremendous. I'm so happy. So thank you, everybody.
I feel happy. I feel relieved. I know a lot of people don't get this outcome, but we're rooting for everyone. It's not just our family, it's everybody's.
For now, the family can spend Thanksgiving together. But as they walked away from the courthouse, the threat of deportation is still ever present. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. The Grand Ole Opry turns 100 years old this week. NPR's Morning Edition is celebrating the show's first broadcast from Nashville. And KPBS Midday Edition is chatting with Sam, the cooking guy, about last-minute recipe ideas for your Thanksgiving dinner. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.